Okay, so the patient in this video has a C6 ASIA B spinal injury. So at this level, we would expect there to be some sensory below the lesion, but there's going to be no motor preserved below the lesion. So this patient will have full innervation of the deltoid, the infraspinatus, the teres minor for external rotation, the clavicular head of the pec and the biceps, and some other elbow flexors, as well as partial innervation of the serratus and the lats here for scapular depression. Important thing to note with this patient is because the level is above C7, the patient's going to have no active elbow extension, so we'll have to modify the way that he performs some of the transfers in order to accommodate for that. So in this video, we're going to be doing a long sitting transfer, which at a level of C6, the expected functional potential with this patient would be that they can perform bed skills with some assist. It's evident from this video that the patient requires moderate to even total assist from the therapist, so he's not quite at the functional level that we want him to be at. So, like I said, for this one, we're not going to have any elbow extensors, so if we get in, the task we're doing is sitting or supine to long sitting. So because we don't have the elbow extensors, once we get into long sitting, we need to make sure our shoulders are in extension as well as external rotation so that we can allow that moment to create that extension moment at the elbow. But when the arm is supported, we need to make sure we keep our tenodesis grasp because the patient doesn't have innervation of the finger flexors. So for this one, we'll start in supine. The biggest thing here is we want to be able to throw our head and use our shoulder flexors to get that momentum going. And then once we do that, we want to get this elbow underneath us once we go to our left. So we throw that head up, get that elbow underneath us, and then go back the other way. And just keep doing that until you can walk your elbow behind you. You're going to do the same thing, and you need to do a lot of force so that you can get the arm that you want to do first for supporting. You need to be able to do enough force so you can get it straight behind you. So you're going to throw that head and that shoulder, get that arm, and do the opposite way. And just keep walking. Remember, maintain that grasp here, shoulder and external rotation so that we get that elbow extension, and that's what we should be here. In this video, the patient was having a lot of trouble with starting on getting to his elbows here. He needed some scapular stabilizing from the therapist from behind, and to get onto the elbows, he's moving too slowly. He's not using enough force and momentum with his head and his shoulder flexors in order to get that elbow underneath him, so he needs total assist by the therapist to get him into that position. And then once the therapist, he get all the way up to here, you can tell that he doesn't have the strength in the scapular stabilizers to keep his scapula depressed, so the therapist is providing assistance at the scapula there. And once he's on one upper extremity here, before he transfers to get the other one up, he is not stabilizing his elbow. So he's flexed here and he's not getting it, he's not having that support here, so he's having a hard time getting up into that long sitting position because he hadn't stabilized his elbow, his supporting elbow yet. So the thing that we need to work on, the treatment goal that I set for this patient was to work on getting his weight shifting so he can go from supine onto his elbows and learning that force production and that timing of movement, as well as working on the strength of the scapular stabilizers, because you could tell that the therapist had to provide some assistance on the scapular stabilizers, not only in supine on elbows, but once he's up into the long sitting, the therapist is providing stabilization of the scapula and the elbows. So what we're going to do first, for my first treatment, is that we're going to do supine on elbows, and we can do just some small reaches here. So I want to get the patient here first. You might need to provide some assistance at the scapula back here and keep them depressed down so that you can help provide some of that stability. But I want to work on having the patient be able to do a reach and kind of get that force up here. But with the reaching, he'll have to keep the arm in external rotation so that it can be an extension when he reaches. And that will kind of work getting that shoulder protracted around in order to generate that momentum so that he can get that straight arm underneath him. To progress that, I can do it in a long sitting and have him reach this way. And then that'll also working on the stabilizing strength of the arm that's using to support him, as well as to regress the treatment, we can just do some stabilizing reversals here and supine on elbows to work on that strength in this position. The other one that I want to do is work on the strength of the scapular depressors. So back from Neuro 2, we learned how to do scapular elevation, anterior elevation, and posterior depression PNF pattern. So I'll have the therapist sitting behind, and we're going to do a combination of isotonics here. So we're going to start in the end position here. We're going to have the patient actively push and depress the scapular stabilizer, hold, and then they're going to relax, let the therapist run, and we're going to practice that bilaterally again to help strengthen some of those scapular stabilizers here, so that the patient, when in long sitting, use the scapular depressors to support. And then to progress that treatment, I would work on having the patient in supine on elbows here, and we can do long sitting here, and we can practice on dropping the shoulders down and then pushing his chest up using the scapular stabilizers. We can do it from long sitting, we can do it from supine on elbows, dropping that chest down and using the scapular stabilizers to push up here. And then a regression of that treatment, if I just wanted to work on scapular stabilizers, is I can have either TheraBand and work on doing some scapular depressions with the TheraBand, or just doing some other sort of PNF pattern that would be a little less challenging for the patient. So